Welcome back to the channel. Donnie D back at you. So today we're going to talk about why tile installations fail. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel. Here we go. So today we're going to talk about why tile installations fail and the top few reasons that come to my mind, and really it's a kind of like a standard in the tile industry. So here we go. Number one reason, well, they're all top reasons, so I'm going to list a few. The first one I got to start with, okay, is lack of mortar coverage on the back of the tile. So essentially what you need in a dry area is around 80 to 85% covered on the back of the tile. So let's say you set a tile, lift it, that's how much you need, how much percentage you need. So it's most of the tile pretty much. And then in a wet area, like a shower or even exterior, you need 90 to 95% coverage on the back of the tile. So it's crazy. I could go down a rabbit hole on this, but in my opinion, the number one reason really why the installations fail is a lack of coverage on tile. So you have let's say you hired a contractor, they came in, they did the install, and then a year later the grout's popping. Well, that's because it never bonded to the mortar never bonded to the back of the tile. That's usually the case. So coverage goes a long way, even if your floor is bouncy here and there, but you shouldn't have that. But anyway, we'll go to the next thing here. So lack of coverage, in my opinion, number one reason why tile installations fail. Using the wrong mortar for the wrong tile, it'll have to kind of correlate to each other, mesh, work together, and so on. So lack of coverage, first thing. Number two, no expansion and contraction joints. Now, if you ever go like in a commercial restaurant and a bathroom, and you're looking at the tile jobs in the bathrooms, and you're looking at the corners, the grout is always cracked, has a hairline crack, or it's completely gone. And usually when you have a change of plane like that, okay, any type of change of plane, you usually want to use a 100% silicone. If you can't, then acrylic matching caulk to allow that area to move, okay? So you don't want to use cement in every section, because it basically is trapping in the tile insulation from moving, because everything moves. Everyone thinks that you use tile, everything is cement, it's not going to move. Well, it does. So give it somewhere to move, and you never have a problem. So walls, when the tile meets the ceiling, again, you don't want it tight. You want a gap there and fill with a caulk or a silicone. Same thing, your vertical corners, or let's say you're going around a tub. I see a lot of contractors, they grout where the tile meets the tub and that cracks and falls out at some point. You can use a silicone there. I always like to use silicone in wet areas when you can. Now, silicone is a maintenance thing, so you will have to remove it at some point and replace it. So that's just how that goes. But that said, if you don't want to use a silicone, you could use a profile. Now, Sluter makes these plastic type of profiles you can use in these areas. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Really have to see. But you can use that if you don't want to ever have to silicone. So that's pretty much a no maintenance thing. Most times I'm just going to use this silicone, it just works out better. So again, second reason why tile installations fail is a lack of expansion and contraction. You got to have it go somewhere. And before I go on to the next topic too, like on floors, on an interior application, you have to have a soft joint, okay, about every 20 feet. Once you get outside or exterior, direct sunlight, is somewhere around 8 to 10. I believe that's the correct the number. If not, I'll put it down in the comments. But direct sunlight or exterior is around 8 to 10, and interior is around 20 to 25 feet. So let's say you're doing a big tile job on a floor, and as an interior, it's not going to get hit with too much sun. Let's say you have a grid pattern tile. Well, somewhere across those joints, you have to have a soft joint. Again, you can use a profile made by a company, or you can use silicone. So essentially, you want the joint completely free of any mortar, like thin set or grout, and you really want to put a backer rod in there to make it soft, so that way the silicone doesn't bond to the substrate in a tile, You just want to have the silicone bond to the sides of the tile. That way everything can move independently. So again, no expansion contraction joints. Second reason. Number 3, improper support of the tile. Now, that comes back down to coverage, but really, here in New Jersey, I tile over a lot of wood. So when that improper support means to me is deflection, and deflection is where you have your 2 joists here and you have your plywood on top. And deflection is how much that plywood is going to go up and down between those joists. Now, tile doesn't like moving, doesn't want any. So when you do a ceramic or porcelain tile, you can have your deflection, as far as I know, about 360, L over 360. Now once you do start doing stone, things like that, even a cement tile, you have to have the substrate twice as strong, so it'll be up to 720. So, when you're doing over wood and whatnot, most of the times you got joists that are 60 on center and you got 3/4 inch tongue and groove. You're good to go for porcelain ceramic. Now, I've made other videos here. Maybe I'll put a card up here on what the exact specs need to be on the substrate, but essentially, again, tile does not like movement. You got to make sure the substrate is strong enough to support tile. A lot of homes that are built, even condos, they got wide beams, 24-inch on center joists. The floor is not ready for tile. You have to add another layer of plywood in most cases to get it ready for tile. So everything starts from the foundation up, making sure everything is strong, because everything works off the previous step. So that's how that goes. Now, that's pretty much the top 3 reasons. Now, as far as the substrate goes, substrate prep is a really important one too. And when you have the proper substrate prep, you're going to get better coverage on the tile and so on. So when it's not as prepped as well, it's not as flat on a wall or floor, and guys start adding more mortar or less here and there, well, you're going to get less coverage. So, prepping the substrate to get it within industry standards. And to give you a quick example, if you're doing large format tile, which would be about any tile over about 15 inches, you have to have the floor every 10 feet, which is, when you think about it, it's pretty long. It's like a whole room. Every 10 feet, the floor can't deviate more than about an 1/8 inch going one way, and the other way about a 1/16. So it's almost nothing. When you have a tile that's, normal format, well, anything less than a large format, so like, let's say, 14 inches or under in any direction of the tile, you could be within about 1/4 inch on the substrate every 10 feet. So substrate prep goes a long way, getting your proper coverage. And as long as you get good coverage in the tile, let's say you prep the substrate, it's perfectly flat, okay? Use the correct mortar, you get good coverage. You get proper expansion contraction joints and all your change of plane. Well, you're going to have yourself a lifetime tile installation. That's how long it's going to last. Now, to give you another quick example, tile is the most expensive floor covering out there, and it is a luxury, okay? No doubt about it, but it's a one-time thing. People use the term a lot, it's set in stone. Once you set it, that's it, and that's correct. As long as everything is done correct before the tile hits the substrate, you can get up to 50 years on a tile installation, believe it or not. So a lot of companies that come in there, giving you low prices and so on, and blowing through jobs using cheap materials and not prepping things properly, it's not going to last. So it might look really good when they first do it and look flat, and you won't be able to tell the difference, but come 3, 4, 5 years later, it's falling apart even less. You wish you would have hired the contractor that was doing things correctly and so on. So that's all I got for you for today for this video. I really appreciate you tuning in, and again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It helps me help more people like yourself bring the correct information to the consumer. That way they have the best thing they can do to make the right decision for them. Thanks again for tuning in. Donnie D, signing off.